Hey guys, it's Vicky, and today I am here to talk about my quarter 4 stats for 2021. This was the first year that I kind of took or kept track of things in a quarterly fashion, and that was because of you guys. I asked you guys, I did a poll in the beginning of the year asking if that's something you guys would want to see, and you guys said yes. And I have to say I did enjoy seeing how things went each quarter, and it's something I'm going to keep doing in 2022 and beyond. So yeah, today we are going to talk about basically my reading stats and my kind of goal recap for quarter 4. So that would be October to December. And then I'm also going to, in general, just talk about my goals for 2021 and how they went. So yeah, it should be fun. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first stat for the quarter that I always look at is how many books did I read in the quarter. And in quarter 4, I read 24 books, which was about average. I think it wasn't the most. I believe the most I read was quarter 1. I read 30. But after that, it was pretty much in that kind of 20 to 25 range. So that was pretty good. And let's see, if I break it down, 15 of those books were physical books. 8 of them were audiobooks. And I had 1 ebook. So not bad. Also pretty typical. Generally, that's what I read the most of is physical, followed by audio, followed by ebook. And then my page count for the quarter, not counting audiobooks, because I didn't really know in 2021 how to calculate that, but I have since found a formula, so I might try to do that in 2022. But for this quarter, my total page count, not counting the audiobooks I listened to, was 3,966. All right, so if we're gonna break things down by genre, my most read genre, again, this happened I think a couple of times for a couple of the quarters. Not everyone, but there was definitely, I think it was the first quarter this happened. My highest read genre was middle grade and YA with 8. And I don't really know why that is. I mean, I think because maybe I did read a lot more like YA in this quarter because I read some Fear Street books. A couple of the books that were anticipated releases that I read were actually YA novels. So yeah, I mean, interesting. But then followed by that, right on brand, was horror and thrillers. I read 7 of those. Next up was nonfiction, with 5, which was actually pretty good because I always try to read at least 1 nonfiction book a month. So to read 5 in the quarter is like awesome. And then we had 1 historical fiction, 1 contemporary or like just kind of general fiction, 1 poetry collection, and 1 sci-fi book. So this quarter I had 5 books that I rated 5 stars, which was pretty good. That's a pretty good number, I think. And I picked 3 of them to be my favorites for the quarter. So the first favorite that I have is a big old hefty one, and that is Blackwater by Michael McDowell. I read this in October, or was it no? Yes, it was October. And I listened to it on audio. It was really good. And like I said in my review of this, I know a lot of people went into this who did not like this book, were disappointed by it because they thought they were getting a full-blown horror novel, and it's not that. And so even though that is also what I was expecting, I did still really love the story and the characters, and the horror elements that were sprinkled throughout, though it wasn't horror heavy, the horror elements that were there were top notch. So once again, Michael McDowell has delivered, and I can't wait to read more of his stuff because his stuff never disappoints me. The next favorite that I had, I believe I listened to this one on audio in November, and that one is How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith. This was a nonfiction book, and the writing in this book was so fantastic. Basically, the book is about, Clint Smith is writing about in this book the history of slavery in America. And the way that he approaches that is to visit different places in the country that were very symbolic to that history. And I don't want to say all the places he visits because I went in not knowing all of the places, and it was kind of interesting to see kind of where he was going to go next. And but I will say one of the places that he does go to is Monticello, which was Thomas Jefferson's plantation, and places like that, sort of. And it just was an amazing book, so well written. Clint Smith is actually a poet, and so I need to get my hands on some of his poetry, because if it's anything like this book, his poetry is just probably awesome. And then my last favorite was the last book that I read for the year 2021, and for the quarter, obviously, and that is Saga Volume 9. This just like blew my mind. It really did. It's the last, for now, as of right now, it's the last volume in this series, and I just loved it. I loved all of the storylines going on. As always, I loved the artwork and just all of it. And the way this ended, it like gutted me, and now I need to know what's gonna happen next. So yeah, this was great. This was great. All right, so now we're gonna talk about my goals. Do a little quarter four goal check-in / like wrap up of my 2021 goals. How did I do? Okay, so my book goal for the year originally was 60 books. But then I surpassed that pretty early on, so I upped it to 80 books. And I ended the year with reading 102 books, which is a record for me. I've never read more than 100 books in a year. And so I gotta pat myself on the back, because that's something that I just never thought I would do. Even when I started this channel, I was like, how do people do it? How do people read 100 books in a year? And here I am, I did it. And yeah, it's just, I'm proud of myself, what can I say? Okay, and then another goal I had was to read 3 classics, and I ended up only reading 2. I read Anna Karenina and Catch-22, and both were 3-star reads, I believe, so I didn't hate them, which is good. Especially Anna Karenina, that was a beast of a novel, and I'm really proud of myself that I read that one. So yeah, that's something that I want to continue trying to do in 2022. As you guys probably saw in my 2022 goals, I want to try to hit 3 classics again this year, because I want to read more classics. So I didn't like rock that one, but the ones I did read were, I feel, challenging, and so I'm still happy with that. I had another goal to read more poetry in 2021, and I ended up reading 2 poetry collections, which was 1 more than I read in 2020. So I guess technically I completed that goal, but obviously I want to read more than just 2 collections, especially out of 102 things. Only 2 of those were poetry. I think I could do a little better than that, so that's something I will definitely try to focus on in 2022 is reading more poetry, because I enjoy it. I like just the words and the rhythm of it and just the way it makes me think, and so I definitely want to keep doing that. Another goal I had was to read 5 Stephen King books, because you guys know I want to get through his entire backlist, and it's a huge backlist, and I only read 4, and that's if you count The Stand, which was a reread. So really, I only read 3 new to me Stephen King books in 2021, so I could have done a little better there. And I think what happens a lot is I think I have all this time, and I usually don't start reading Stephen King until like halfway through the year, or until his spring release comes out. I've done that the last couple of years, and so now I'm like, okay, I need to just sort of try to make sure that early on in the year I try to hit that earlier. So that's something I will work on in 2022. And then for this quarter, I wanted to, and for the whole year, I wanted to read from my shelves. That was an important thing to me, because I do have, you know, quite a few unread books here. And so of the 15 physical books that I read, 12 of them were from my shelves. So I think that's pretty awesome. And obviously I want to keep that going. I don't have my number for the year, how many out of the 102, how many of them were from my shelves. But if I had to guess, I would say probably at least 75, maybe 80 of them were. So that's good. That's good. So I'm gonna keep that going in 2022. And then we have the 2 more goals that I did not do so well on. The first one was that I really wanted to read more from my Kindle. And this is a goal I make every year, because I always forget about it. I forget I have books on there, and because I'm so focused on this. And so I always make a goal to read more from my Kindle. And this quarter, I only read 1. And it was the second to last book I read for the quarter, for the year. So that's not great. And then for the year, I only read 7 Kindle books, which again, 102 books, but only 7 of them were ebooks. I think I can do better than that. And then the last goal that I just epically failed, which I mentioned in my 2022 reading goals, was I wanted to read 5 Goosebumps books in 2021, and I read none. None. So I need to redeem myself in 2022, except this time around, I'm not gonna go for 5, I'm gonna go for 3. Because I think that, I don't know, that just seems a little bit more doable for some reason. And I sort of have a plan in mind to help me with that, maybe. So hopefully I won't go all through 2022 and not read a single Goosebumps book. And then the last thing I just want to briefly touch on were some of the reading challenges that I took part in 2021. There were 3 of them that I was focusing on. And my goal with them wasn't to necessarily complete every single prompt on all 3 of them. It just was kind of something I wanted to just sort of see what I could fill in as I read. And I think that's kind of gonna sort of be my similar approach in 2022 with the reading challenges I've chosen to do, because I just don't want to put that kind of pressure on myself, because there are a few that I want to do in 2022. But anyways, one that I did very well on was the Buzzword Reading Challenge, which was it was a year-long reading challenge there was a monthly sort of prompt, and I fulfilled all of them. So I was 12 for 12. So yay, that was a good one. However, the next one, the Reading Women Challenge, I didn't do so well on. There were 24 prompts and I did 7. So that definitely could have been a little better. Though again, I wasn't really specifically looking at the challenge and like, okay, I'm gonna do this book, this book, this book. But I kind of wish I had with that one, because it did have some really good prompts and some really good opportunities to kind of broaden my horizons, diversify, whatever you want to say. And so I kind of missed the boat there. And so for some of the stuff I want to do in 2022, I think I am going to focus a little more on some of them to kind of try to push myself outside of my own little comfort zone, because yeah, that could have been better. And then the last one that I did was the Books in the Freezer challenge, and there were 16 prompts and I did 12. So again, not too bad. If I had doubled up on some of the prompts, I would have completed it, but I wanted to do 1 book for each prompt. So it ended up being 12. And that's another one that I am definitely going to do in 2022, because I love reading horror books and it's just a fun challenge to do. So I'm all signed up. I have the little graphic printed out, put in my planner. I'm ready. So yeah, I'm going to be taking part in Buzzword again and in Books in the Freezer. The Reading Women Challenge I don't think is happening anymore, sadly. But there are a couple others in my planner that I'm working on, that I'm going to work on. So I have a lot to keep me busy. And then there's another one that I want to do that I saw through Instagram, and it's to read 20 books by Black women in 2022. So that's another one that I'm going to do, because why not? All right, guys, so those are my quarterly stats for quarter 4 and kind of my wrap up of my 2021 goals. It was a pretty good year, I have to say. There were definitely, for the most part, I did read a lot, but for the most part, I was pretty happy with the things I read. So yeah, it was a good year, what can I say? Let me know down below if you make goals for yourself, and what goals did you make for yourself that you're really proud of that you did? Because I want everybody to feel positive. Forget about the ones that you didn't do so great on. Let's just forget those. Let's talk about the good stuff. All right, so let me know down below. I would love to hear about that. And other than that, I hope you guys are having a wonderful week, and I will talk with you soon. Thank you so much for watching.